Good morning, good afternoon. I'm speaking to you from the sidelines of COP26 in Glasgow, where we've just wrapped up an inspiring first week of the international climate negotiations. We came into this COP with low expectations. There were significant concerns that the new pledges, the new commitments, would not stack up to the 1.5-degree trajectory that we're all aiming for. And let me be clear, there is a lot more work to be done. But so far, this has actually been a very good week. First, there were governments that stepped up to the plate. Two examples stand out. Countries around the world have promised to eliminate deforestation by 2030, a major source of greenhouse gas emissions. But also, and very importantly, more than 100 countries pledged to reduce their methane emissions by 30% by 2030. Methane is a very significant greenhouse gas, 86 times more powerful in warming our planet than CO2. So reducing those emissions early will make a big difference. But it wasn't just governments that got into the act here in Glasgow. The presence of business leaders and financial institutions at this COP is really quite striking. And they're here partly to help in the fight to address climate change. But I'm convinced, speaking to many of them over the last couple of days, that they're here also because they see the opportunity in being part of the decarbonization of our global economy. I've met with financial institutions, banks, institutional investors, who are looking not just to shift more of their new investments to the low-carbon energy solutions of the future, but they're also looking to address their historic portfolio of investments from high-carbon to low-carbon assets. Then there are businesses that see new opportunities in green energy. At RMI, we were part of a big announcement yesterday of 45 gigawatts of new hydrogen capacity being committed by the middle of this decade. That would represent more than 100-fold increase of the current global capacity. We heard countries committing to eliminating their coal fleet as part of their transition to zero-carbon electricity. And yes, we can imagine that happening in Europe and in the United States, but even a country like South Africa announced a big, bold move towards retiring some of their coal fleet. And then there is the work in those sectors where the solutions have not historically been immediately obvious. Shipping, aviation, trucking, steel, cement, petrochemicals, aluminum. In these sectors, we saw the Mission Possible partnership come together and announce big efforts to work between industry participants, suppliers, customers, financiers, as well as governments to lay out the pathways and make the commitments necessary to decarbonize these sectors. Finally, civil society was present in large numbers here in Glasgow, helping us all remember how important this fight is. The work is not done. Next week, more detailed negotiations will take place, among other things, on the implementation of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, how to establish more price transparency and put a price on carbon. There will also be further negotiations about the level of commitments. The world needs to reduce emissions by 50% by 2030 and be net zero by the middle of this century. But on the whole, I think that we can look back on a very promising first week, and I'm filled with expectation and optimism for the upcoming week. Thank you.